Good morning. Good morning. Sarah here. Wayshower, shamanic guide, healer. How are we all doing this morning? I was been pondering on the post that I shared the other day about when I was in the woods walking and getting this overwhelming feeling that everything's standing still. And I had a bit of an aha moment this morning, where I think it's kind of all dropped into my perspective, really. So before I go any further, if you're new here, please hit the like button, subscribe if you like, and hope to see you here again. So I was just thinking that, this silence, this stillness, what's that all about? And I very much feel as if I'm standing, sitting, observing in silence the sort of chaos of the world that's going on around me, and what that's all about, really. And I really believe that it's a letting go. And I mean, I've been kind of noticing this for a long time, and other people have that I've spoken to have said, they're beginning to notice it too. That there's very much a stillness within everybody of letting go of perhaps all the things that brought us to this place. I mean, I've certainly over the years, certainly the last, 5 or 6 years, noticed that I'm releasing an awful lot of the tools that got me to the place here where I am now. I'm letting them go and just sort of paring myself right back down to the basics, right back down to just sitting in my silence, really. So other people are indicating that they're feeling the same thing. So I thought I'd share it with you, that it's a letting go of the tools that brought us to this place. So, when perhaps you might be starting out on your journey, there's a kind of a physical need to collect everything, to collect crystals, to collect drums, to collect books, to collect all the paraphernalia that you feel that might help you find your truest or most authentic self. And over the years, it becomes apparent that yes, they do help you initially, but they also hinder us a little bit, because we get too bogged down about having to use this crystal for that and this crystal for that, and buying endless drums and perhaps medicine tools that other people make, drums that other people make. And there's very much a sort of a feeling of this just letting it go and paring it right back down. And also that goes to the gurus of this woo-woo spiritual world, if you like, that are falling away, that suddenly their words don't resonate anymore. And don't get me wrong, I think there's awful lot of people out there that have guided the vast majority of people certainly through the last 5 years, where we, perhaps floundering a little bit, that these people have, guided us, they've given us words of encouragement, of guidance. But again, I'm noticing they're beginning to fall away, that people are not so resonant with those words anymore, that people are beginning to find their own guidance. And the same goes for things like crystals. This endless crystal fairs where you can go and buy the biggest crystals that and actually crystals are fantastic. You know, there's some amazing crystal healers out there, but not all of us need all of the crystals. You might find that one or two you are drawn to and that you use on a regular basis. And going back to the gurus, there are people out there that are selling the dream, this is your way to finding enlightenment, this is your way to become a healer, this is your way to become a channeler. And yeah, it's great to perhaps get initial guidance from people, but ultimately it comes back to your own work, your own inner guidance, your own intuition. And I kind of feel as if I'm doing myself out of a job here, but that's what it's all about. That's where my guidance comes in, because everything that I do, everything that I teach, everything that I share, is the ultimate goal is that each and every person that I work with finds their own way of doing this, that they're not reliant on me or anybody else for their guidance. And it's just a way of kick-starting that process. But yeah, going back to this, this stillness that I'm feeling, what I'm feeling is that more and more people are just letting go of all that hype, that Instagram hype. You must come on this retreat to this, you must have these crystals, you must buy the drums that I made under the full moon on whenever, and all the medicine tools that are made by somebody else holding somebody else's energy. And that's kind of what it comes down to, is that paring everything back to your own personal medicine. So in my life, the things that I do regularly are my daily practice. And that I have developed on my own over the years. Yes, I was guided initially by various teachers, but I have developed my own daily practice. And I would share something similar with people that wanted to know how to do that, but ultimately it's up to each and every one of us to find our own way of connecting to Source, and just to do our daily meditation and practice. And as far as medicine tool goes, I've got loads of drums that I've made. I've bought a few. I have synthetic drums as well, but the vast majority of them I keep for drum circles, where other people who come to the drum circle who don't have their own drums can borrow mine. And I have, I would say, certainly this drum behind me, which was the very first drum that I ever made, and it is most definitely my most precious medicine drum. I also have a dragon river dragon drum that I made, and I have one other small 12-inch drum that I sometimes take when I'm traveling because it fits in a bag really well. But those are the three, and predominantly this one behind me, this double-sided deer drum, and my double-sided river dragon drum, which is full of river stones that makes the most wonderful hum when I play it, and it's very therapeutic. Those are the ones that I really rely on a daily basis. And I love making drums, so I will always continue to make drums. And if people want me to make drums for them, I'm very happy to do it. But the point is, I think it's really important that people, if you are drawn to having your own drum, that you make it yourself. It's lovely to have a beautifully made, intricately made, with lovely colourful suede on the back and a crystal in the handle, and it was made on a full moon, made by a really talented drum maker, it's great to have one of those, but it's really not the same as making your own. And even if your own is a little bit tatty, you know, not absolutely perfect, you know, that you could perhaps sell it to somebody else, that doesn't matter. What matters is the medicine that you put into it and the intention that you put into it when you were making it, and the connection to the spirit of the animal and the tree. I also have 2 rattles that I use. Again, I've got loads of rattles, and I've shown you these on other videos, that what I use them all for. But as far as my personal medicine, I use a rattle that out of deer hide that I made, and I also use a Peruvian tiny little gourd rattle, which I bought. So I didn't make that, but it has a very really good rattle for trance. It's a great journeying rattle. So those are the 2 that I would consider to, you know, if I had to pare down all my rattles, those are the 2 that I would use most. I also use feathers, found feathers. I never buy feathers. I always find them, or people give them to me, so I have a lot of feathers. But again, I've sort of pared that down to a vulture feather that I use in healing, because that I can scoop out negative energies with that, and an owl feather, which I find very special. And again, I've made feather fans, and I've made feather fans for other people, and I sell them and whatnot, which is great if, you know, you're looking for something that is decorative and you know, useful, but it doesn't hold your own medicine. So really what I'm getting down to is that this feeling of whether that's a fly, it's a wasp that's coming, this feeling that we're waiting for something. I think this is what it is. We're waiting for us to come back into ourselves, to just trust our intuition, to trust that thought that drops into your head when you're being silent, or you might notice a book on your shelf that you hadn't seen for a long time. It's really just sitting quietly, observing, witnessing what's going on around us, and really just being ready for whatever comes, without over cluttering our lives with perhaps having to do, you know, rituals that perhaps don't mean anything to you. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do rituals and things, because they're very powerful, but sometimes, you know, when you look on Instagram, people are celebrating whatever solstice or whichever pagan festival they're, you know, and they go to huge effort to make a beautiful photograph to, you know, and I'm not convinced that it's really authentic. Could be wrong, but again, you know, if you do celebrate festivals, then, you know, on the year of the wheel, then that's great, but it needs to be authentic. It needs to be really felt in your heart that that's what you're doing, not just because everybody else is doing it, or and I don't do big rituals on these days anymore, because I just kind of felt it was, I'm not saying I never do it, but I just, what I like to do, instead of, you know, building a special altar or going in with a group of other people to do a ceremony, is that I just like to sit out in nature and just be in that space, in that time, in that day, to really just connect with the nature that's around me, and give thanks and gratitude, but not in a kind of over the top showy way, if you like. So yeah, I think it's just that was my thought anyway, that this is what this silence is about, that more and more people are dropping into this quiet place of not being overtly showy or trying to sell people stuff or buying a load of things from other people that you haven't made, that obviously you haven't made yourself, but just so that you can fill your house with spiritual stuff. I mean, everything you can see behind me, this square actually is a piece of an antique patchwork that somebody in my family made in the Victorian times. I think it could even be earlier than that. And I cut it down. It was a bedspread, and I cut it down and patched it up, and I've actually sewn into it. So I've really worked that as an altar cloth, and I keep it up there so it doesn't get crumpled, and it's pretty delicate. And the mask over the top I made, and the feathers I have collected, the swan feathers. So as I say, I'm really paring my things down to what is really good medicine for me. Without kind of getting caught up in the hype of everything. And my point is that I'm seeing more and more people doing this as well, which is lovely, because I think when whatever comes, we're already in that place of recognizing our guidance from our intuition, and we'll know what to do in that space, and we'll have our medicine tools and paraphernalia already with us, already made by us, already holding the spirit of that tool. Okay, have a lovely day. I feel as if summer is on the wane. I've always said over the years, August the 20th is my cut-off date for summer. It's the day that I usually put my socks back on in the evening. And this week is no exception. Yesterday I found I had to take off my sandals and put on my walking boots again with a pair of socks to go for a long walk. So I feel as if the energy is changing, that it's beginning, summer is beginning to lose its potency, that we are being prepared for the autumn. The leaves, some leaves I noticed are beginning to yellow, but that could be lack of water. We haven't had any water here in Wales, any rain here for weeks. My water butts are all completely empty. So yeah, it feels different, something shifting. Have a lovely day. Ciao for now.